Hi, everybody. I am hopping on a bit early today. I hope you are good. I hope that this live is helpful to you today. It is a topic that's been coming up for me, and I wanted to share a little bit more with you. So I've been having a really cool discussion with my husband. He's starting to dive into his true expression, and I've been supporting him with really honing in on his talents and his gifts, and he's starting to step out more fully in that, which has been really cool. And we were talking about how people get very caught up on success, right? You see it a lot on Facebook, you see it a lot on social media, where it's like really pushed on you, like you have to be successful, or this is what success looks like, or here are all these people being successful. And we are really talking about that what's more important than that is really you just being your best self. Really is just you just trying to be your most excellent self, instead of focusing so much on success and comparing yourself to other people and, you know, this is what it's supposed to look like. It's really about knowing your true self, knowing yourself and what you are here to express and share with people. I've been talking a lot about letting your light lead, and you have to know what your light is in order to let your light lead, right? And what a lot of people are doing is they are looking externally. They're looking outside of themselves and trying to form their identity on what they see, instead of going within themselves and knowing what their identity is and sharing from that place, right? So this idea of like, where's your worth? Where's your worth at? And so many people are putting their worth outside of themselves. So many people are defining themselves by what's outside of them. And it's a tough sell, right? Like it just doesn't work that way. I mean, it hasn't worked that way for me, and I see a lot of people struggle with this, is if you're trying to define who you are by the external world, it's going to be a really tough road, and it's going to, seem like it's never fulfilling and it's never enough, and you're not there yet. It really takes us out of the present moment to constantly be looking externally to see, who we truly are. I personally feel like you find out who you really are by going inward, and then you express that out into the world. And that certainly has been my process. And I have been one of these people who really grew up, and it was all about being successful. It was all about like your grades and playing sports and just really striving. And that can be exhausting. It can be exhausting because then you get somewhere where you thought you were supposed to get to, and then that's not enough, or that's not fulfilling, or that doesn't feel like an accomplishment to you. And there's always the next thing. So that's why I have really dedicated my life to working the inner world aspect of myself, really getting to know myself spiritually, getting to know myself mentally, emotionally, and then bringing that to physical world reality. And that's really been helpful. So for me in particular, my worth was always in, getting a promotion or rising through the ranks of a job. My worth was always in like, what's the next accomplishment I can get? My worth was in relationships I was having. My worth was always in something outside of myself. And it was such a challenging way to live. Right? So what changed that for me is that I realized I couldn't make my worth dependent on what was going on outside of me, that was never going to be fulfilling for me, and that I was going to have to find a different way to feel worthy about myself. And when I heard I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, that paradigm was such a different way of looking at myself than I had ever experienced, that really created a big shift for me, because it became more about the spiritual aspect than the physical world reality aspect. And I really bought into that paradigm. That doesn't mean you have to buy into it, but you want to find a way to, just innately buy into your worthiness. which is not what we always do. We innately buy into that we are not worthy, that we're not whole, that we're not complete. And then we try to do stuff externally, get that guy, get that promotion, get that house. We try to get all these things to feel better about ourselves. And it doesn't work that way. You've got to get okay with you. You've got to get okay with who you are. You got to get to know who you are and go in a self-discovery process to understand what that is. And when you get good with you, when you get right with you, it is so much easier to then bring that worthiness to what you are doing in physical world reality. It doesn't work the other way. You will not ever be fully sustained by trying to get the worthiness outside of yourself. And the faster you can understand this for yourself, and the quicker you can like own that and find your way to receive worthiness just innately, the easier life will be for you. So if this is something you want to like explore a bit more, like I'm always down for these conversations. You guys know I love to talk about this stuff. If you want to hear a little bit more about how I did that, I'm happy to like connect with you and us have that conversation, because there isn't anything more important than you understanding that you are whole and complete right now in this moment, and that you don't need anything else to be okay with yourself. That you can just bring who you are, the truth of who you are, to what you do and enjoy it and have fun with it and express yourself in a way that feels good for you, and then receive worth from what you're doing because you already have the worth. Then it all is like a good feeling of worthiness, right? So I still get worth from things that I do, but my worth is not dependent on what I'm doing. My worth is on me being a spiritual being. My worth is about I am a loving essence, and that's what I bring to every interaction in my life. I pull from that. That is the truth of who I am. That is already worthy right now in this moment. I don't have to do anything to be worthy. I already am that, right? So that's what I bring to what I do. But most people don't have that understanding for themselves. They are trained and think that they have to do something in order to be worthy. And that is a misunderstanding. And if that misunderstanding continues, you're going to keep creating situations where you actually do feel like you have to do something in order to be worthy. So the identity has to be there in place already. The identity to that you're already whole and complete right now. That you're already the loving essence. That you're already, a soul having a human experience. When that's there, then you can create from that place, versus going out into the world trying to do something so that you can feel normal or feel okay or feel like you can love yourself. That's always going to be a dead-end road, because it's never going to be enough. You're always going to have to keep grabbing and grabbing and grabbing for the loving or the worthiness or whatever it is for you. So we have to go inward and look at that within yourself. And that has to be a choice. This is the other thing that I always share with people. I can, share these concepts with you about where to look, but you have to be the one willing to look. You have to be the one that makes the decision whether you're going to do something about it. Nobody can do that for you. So you can hear great perspectives. You can hear great concepts. You can learn new tools. But if you don't take them and start applying them to yourself and have insights and have awarenesses and have ahas and have the breakthroughs, then they don't really mean much, right? So I can tell you where to start looking, but you have to be the one that wants to look. You have to be the one that notices the choice point. You have to be the one that decides like, oh, this is what I keep choosing and it's not working for me. And I want to do this differently. I'm going to do this differently. I'm doing it differently. So I'm going to choose this thing and see what happens. I'm going to choose this new perspective to try on and see what starts to happen in my life. Right? So that's really on you. That's that responsibility piece. And I have to tell you, that was a big part of my worthiness issues, was that I didn't want to take responsibility for myself. I wanted other people to do it. And that was a big hurdle I had to make it through in my recovery, because I really didn't want to recover for a long time. I said I did, I looked maybe like I wanted to, but I didn't make that decision within myself to actually do it. And it wasn't until I actually made that decision, like, I'm going to give this 100%. I'm going to learn what I need to learn. I'm going to practice what I need to practice. I'm going to do this, that I started to see the changes. You know, it's not just about knowing the information. It's about going 100% committed, full in, devoting yourself to it, and making changes for yourself. Like, you got to make the changes. Right? So this is a really great thing to start to look at. Where is your worth? There's no judgment in it. There's no shame in it. You know, I just shared with you all the ways that I was using my external life to feel worthy about myself, and how it was just a dead-end road for me. I mean, it really led to me coping in very self-destructive ways. And a lot of us can relate to that. Right? So I had to resolve this piece for myself, that I felt very unworthy of a lot of things. And if I didn't resolve that, if I didn't commit to resolving that for myself, if I didn't commit to learning how to feel and be worthy in this moment, then I wouldn't be sitting here right now. Right? I had to go for it. I had to learn it. I had to find the support. I had to do all of those things so that I could get to a better place. So I hope you take what I'm sharing with you today, like, think of somehow that you can actually apply this, right? Maybe it's that you think about, where am I getting my worth from right now? Or what needs to be resolved within me in order to feel more worthy? Or maybe it's because I keep, thinking that my worth is dependent on what I'm doing, which is a very ego and mind way to look at it. Maybe there's a different spiritual way that I could look at it that would actually work for me instead of against me. Like, start to go on this exploration, right? Start to discover more about yourself. I actually posted something today on my page where, if you need support around self-discovery, I've got a $27 mini course, super inexpensive, 8 audios with 18 worksheets, like, just a really simple step to take to start to discover more about yourself, to start to get to know yourself more, and to really go a bit deeper into this piece about what's getting in the way of me owning my worthiness, what's getting in the way of me loving myself. Right? That's the exploration that needs to happen so that you can start to resolve this for yourself. This stuff does not just resolve itself on its own. This stuff does not resolve itself without an intention or attention on it. This is not one of those things you just sweep under the rug. This is you. This is your life. This is your connection with your true self. And it means everything when it comes to what you are expressing into this world. Like, I know that you are worthy right now. I believe that to be true. I don't think there's anything wrong with you. It's just that you believe that there's something wrong with you, and that you keep buying into that. So that needs to be resolved. This misunderstanding that you're bad, that you're wrong, that you've made mistakes, and that you're never going to be a good person because of it. It's just a story. It's not true. Trust me, I was telling myself that same story. And that's the choice point. Are you going to carry on with the story that doesn't work for you and makes you feel like shit about yourself? Or are you going to create a new story for yourself where you're learning, you're growing, you're figuring this out, you are, supporting yourself, you're getting other people to support you, like, you're moving forward in your life? That's the next step. If there's anything I can do to support you, if you have questions, if you want to know some more about my story, like I said, reach out to me. I'm happy to share with you in any way that I can. And I appreciate you being here. This is so important to look at where you are getting your worth from. Where's that worth coming from? Very important part of the process. And when you can figure this out and resolve this piece for yourself, everything can change. So it starts by looking at it, becoming aware of it, getting support with this piece. Eric says, I feel like I'm failing both internally and externally. I'm unclear about what needs to change. Well, Eric, I would just encourage you, because we've known each other for a long time, that you check in with your support people around that. I'm thinking, honestly, like, what's coming up for me right now is that you actually do know what needs to change. And so I encourage you to look at that a bit more, because we've known each other for many years now. And when we've talked, you always do know what needs to get changed or what needs to be changed. So I would just stretch yourself a little bit more and see maybe what's behind either the fact that you're saying you don't know what needs to change, or what's getting in the way of you making some of the changes that I know you and I have personally talked about. I believe in you. I believe that you can make these changes. And I know you've got a lot of great support around you to make these changes. So just think about like what's one small step you can take. You know, I always encourage the small step. When we think about all the changes we have to make, it can feel overwhelming and it can almost like disconnect us from making a step or thinking we know what next step to make, because it just feels too much. So I just encourage you to like hone it in on one thing that you could start to do that you know would make you feel better, right? I love to always start on self-care, on the mental level, the emotional level, the physical level, the spiritual level. If working those 4 levels feels too much right now, just pick one of them. Just pick one of them and start to consistently every day work on that thing. Right? Whether it's journaling, whether it's working with affirmations, whether it's reading a book that you enjoy. Yeah, so that's one of the things you could change. And that's my whole point, is that you have to take responsibility for what you can do right now. And if this is an area that's always challenging for you, then this is an area that you could make a small change around. And if you consistently did self-care, like what else would change for you? If you consistently did self-care, how might you feel? If you consistently did self-care, what else would be possible for you? So this is that piece where we have to take ownership over the things that we do have dominion over. And taking better care of yourself in even a small way is something that you can do. You're very welcome. Right? So just always, you know, if it's too overwhelming, just think about what's one thing I can do today to support myself. And when you do that thing, acknowledge yourself. I've been consistently doing this thing every day for myself. That's something. Okay, I've been able to consistently do this thing every day. I'm going to add in one more thing that would be good for me. Maybe it's taking out the trash. Maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's, you know, cleaning up my space, whatever it is. Okay, I'm doing these 2 things. This is feeling better for me. Like I'm starting to notice my apartment's cleaner. I'm starting to notice I'm feeling a little less cluttered. I'm starting to notice I'm feeling good that I'm following through with some things. That's how you build it up. You build these things up. It doesn't just light switch turn to, you know, a whole new you, right? So you have to work on building it up. All right, and this will help with worth too, because it's like I'm worth taking care of myself. I'm worth doing one activity a day for. Whether it's, you know, like I said, reading a book, journaling, doing some exercise, whatever that thing is. And it's taking time from your day to actually put it towards yourself. And it could be 10 minutes. I'm not talking about an hour or 2 of self-care. I'm talking about taking 10 minutes of your day to do something for yourself. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. And I'll be checking in with an accountability post tomorrow to just see what's come up for you around worthiness. I know worthiness is a really big one for people. It's one that comes up for a lot of people, and it was definitely something I worked on. It was one of the first things I worked on in my recovery. My first year was all, you know, focused on self-worth and working through unworthiness for myself. So I totally get it. All right, guys, good to be here with you. Thanks for listening in. Talk soon.